Hi guys. Sorry for sending this very late. This was this was very busy weekend as usual. But anyway, our final comes to be on Thursday, December 14th. So here is a brief review on what will be on the final. So final has actually final has three sections. First section is the multiple choice. So I will go first with a multiple choice, and multiple choice can give you 55 points. So there are 55 points. Each question is 1 point. Then the next two sessions are slightly harder, but final should be easy. Final first section should be easy. Anyway, so in multiple choice questions, I will go step by step, question by question, and you just check your knowledge. So you need to know what is the purpose of bioprospecting. So look at my slides. What is the purpose of bioprospecting? You need to understand why we are screening for desired activity in bioprospecting. Uh, you need to understand what is like basic stuff about bioprospecting, like what is high throughput screening. Um, you need to understand stir tank batch mode of stir tank reactor fed batch, intermittent and continuous mode. Like if I ask you main characteristics of each, you have to be able to know that. So what is open, what is continuous, when do we have half of bioreactor, actually 10% left and 90% drained and then filled it up. Uh, that's what you need to know. Then you need to know some examples of some products that were made with bioreactors and how they were made, like second generation biofuels, then some alcohols, vinegar, one of enzymes, like lacase, for example. So you need to know which fermentation was used. Um, you need to understand some basic things on introducing cells to synchrony, like fast famine chemical reduction. So that's what you need to understand. Um, Again, those types of reactors, batch, fast batch, continuous, and intermittent harvest. So you need to understand all four of them, and you need to understand some basic armor. So there is another question on that. Then there is one big question which has like A to X, like many letters that you need to place next to the carbon source, nitrogen source, like basically three letters, three to four letters uh, matching to each statement. So that might take you a lot of time just to read. You need to know what grass status means. You need to know which are examples of primary metabolites. And you remember we talked about citric acid, lactic acid, amino acids. We talked about vanillin. You need to know which organism is producing each of them, like for example, citric acid, which organism is famous for glutamic acid or lysine. Uh, yes, then the lysine production, there are two basic modes, so you should know which they are. Um, then you need to be able to distinguish primary from secondary metabolism in microbes. Some basic secondary metabolites. If you remember, we talked about some basic differences. So read secondary metabolites very well, especially secondary metabolites. What is their function and what is the difference between some of them? So some of them have some of them are very similar, but they like have one amino acid different. You need to understand penicillin biosynthesis, not in details with long enzymatic names, but you need to understand basically the order. Uh, and again, which organism is making penicillin, which organism is making some of basic biopolymers, and we mentioned two. One of them I work with, so you need to understand which one that is. Um, and you need to know about extracellular enzymes, why they are, like how we produce them. There is one specific example that we use, like specifically most production of enzyme. Then you need to know about high fructose syrup route 1 and 2, like which are enzymes involved in route 1 and route 2. And in route 1 is which carbon source is used in route 1 and in route 2. And again, high fructose syrup production, I would like you to know in details. Um, Also for biofuel production, first generation, second generation, you need to know what is the source of like feedstock, and you need to know some basic genetic modifications that were involved in the production of biofuels for first generation and also for second generation biofuels. Um, then you need to know what is the purpose of coffee still, not in detail, but the purpose. And I'd really like to ask about byproducts in, for example, in biofuel production. Like there is one specific byproduct that we talked about that can be sold to the cotton gold. Uh, and you need to know what are compounds in feedstock for second generation of biofuels and which of them is the most problematic and how each of them can be degraded and which enzymes are used to be degraded because there are three components in that biomass, lignocellulosic biomass. So what is the problem there and which one can be degraded? And what is the problem with second generation biofuels? Um, and then when we talk about third generation of biofuels, it's important to know which molecule is critical in cellular biosynthesis, like inside of the cell at metabolic level when we talk about third generation biofuels. So in algae, then you need to know how are those biofuels in algae produced. Like what do we need? When is the best to produce it? If you just a hint, we talked about adding some bacteria so it can slightly stress cells. So just look those graphs. What happens when you add bacteria to chlorophyll, and what happens when you add amino acids? So how what happens to growth and production of lipids? You need to know the example of respond, like why responded. So respond versus photobioreactor for lipid production for second generation biofuels production. Like why is one better? Like what's capital advantage and capital disadvantage of respond and bioreactor? Um, uh, then what is the you need to know some basic co-products in third generation of algal lipids. So just check that. And what is the final product of, let's say, algal conversion to lipids? So that's what you finally talk about it. Mhm. What is the concept of integrated biorefineries? You have to know that as well. In terms of next generation biofuels, you need to know which fuel is considered darling and how is what is the problem with that darling and how is that toxicity addressed. And The yeah, and you need to know about production of darling of next generation biofuels, like how it, to which process in organism uh, that process is connected. So I will just give you a hint. I hint acetogenesis or litogenesis. So know how that looks. And again, look at specific plasmid. Mm, and you need to know advantage and disadvantage of that darling of next generation biofuels, which is butanol. So look that. Uh, and yeah, so for multiple choice. For section two, there are definitions and short answers, and I have here five definitions. So this one will give you a lot of points. And third question is only one. And if you remember, we ended up with that question. So that's something that I want you to, it will give you 15 points, but I want you to understand very well those examples. And for the second section, again, you need to understand high fructose syrup and both routes, which enzymes are involved, and to explain. So for higher marks, of course, you explain more, and I gave enough space to write. You need to again react non-ribosomal biopeptides and look those specific structures that we call molecular machines and first, second, third, and next generation biofuels. Brief summary explanation. Only that what exists in my uh, summary. And again, third question was the example that we used to finish the class, to conclude the class, something that I said that I will ask. And that will be all. So good luck. I hope you all get like A plus. And see you on Wednesday. Bye.